Welcome to the Family Law Frontline.
Hello and welcome back to the Family Law Frontline with Fedor Kozlov. Fedor is the founding partner and chief litigator at the Law Office of Fedor Kozlov, PC. With over a decade of experience in Illinois family law, he handles high-stakes cases involving custody, property division, domestic violence, as well as reproductive rights. I'm Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're talking about how to protect your business in a divorce. Fedor, welcome back.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing great. Excited to talk about this. This is an interesting thing that maybe a lot of people don't think about, but when business owners come to you during a divorce, what are they usually afraid of losing?
Income, mostly. So when we talk about business, we go back to the basics. We go back to determine whether or not, first of all, it's marital property. Businesses can be marital property. Business is a property that is subject to division. Illinois is the guideline state and provides that any marital property subject to division, usually 50-50. And it's a very strict rule. So if you had your business before you got married to your spouse, this is your separate property, and it cannot be divided. If you're not married, it cannot be divided. It's completely yours. But if you started the business during the marriage or commingled business with something else during the marriage, it is a marital property. Now, there are many, many questions that coming out of what qualifies as marital property, how to divide it, things like that. And what's commingling? So commingling is when you have an asset that you earned before the marriage. It could be your bank account, it could be your house, it could be the business that you started before getting married. And now, if we're talking about the house, you sell the house and you buy another house, that's called commingling. Now it's no longer a separate property. It's a marital property that's subject to division 50-50 between you and your spouse. The same was the business. If you started the business ABC before you got married, and now you transformed this business or sold this business, and with the money that you sold from the business and took some money from your spouse, and you create a new business, that is a marital asset, marital business that can be subject to the division. Now, another question that comes into play, and when we talk about division of the business today, of course, I'm not talking about businesses like Meta or Amazon or huge businesses that trading in the stock market. I'm talking about average people with small businesses, great ideas, small businesses, and things like that. So when we talk about that, there are two ways you start the business. You can either incorporate the business or you can have an LLC. Either way, you have some kind of shares or interests or whatever you have. So when we talk about business and how we split it, a share of a business, of most businesses out there, whether it's trucking business, doctor's office, attorney's office, shares don't have much of a value. So you cannot really divide that. So the question is, what are you actually dividing at the time of the divorce? And usually it's equipment. And again, like speaking about trucking business, it could be trucks, trailers, things like that. But that's exactly what you're dividing. You're dividing assets. If you have any other sort of business, if you think about it, donut shop or anything like that, you're dividing exactly that. You're dividing the equipment. Now, the other thing is that people come to my office frequently is when the wife and the husband start the business together. So, that this is definitely a marital property. This is definitely subject to the division. But now the question is, if you sell the business, if you sell the equipment, what are you going to do going forward? Because you have kids, you have to pay certain expenses, you have a mortgage on the house. You can't just finish the business, sell it, and then you don't have nothing. You have nothing to start to go forward. That is a very complicated issue and a complicated question when spouses, husband and wife, have to divide the business that they start together. Uh, and again, I will go back to the trucking business because it's easier to talk about. So, if you have 10 trucks, 10 trailers, each of you can have five and five, and you can be done. But there are lots of other complications here. If we, for example, talking about people with license, like let's talk about lawyers, right? So if a lawyer get divorced, the question is, you open the business during the marriage, so it's a marital asset. Now the question is, does your spouse have a license to practice law? If she does or he does, great. So you can separate, go each other way. There are certain ARDC rules, how you inform the clients, who to go with, and inform the clients about the business ended, and then the client can choose where to go, who would be your attorney. But if your spouse doesn't have a license, that's a big question, because now we go also with the old sorts of unauthorized practice of the law and things like that. If you don't have a license, same concept applies to doctors. The same concept applies to many people who has licenses. Now, with the business, again, if we speak about normal business, business does not require a license, even though in Illinois, I think everybody has to have some kind of license. If you're a plumber, you have to have a license. If you're an Uber driver, you have to go through certain tests and things, and you have to be confirmed as the legit Uber driver, and you cannot transfer your sort of ID to anybody else. So, but again, if we speak about some business that doesn't really require a license, then the question is what is the price for the business, right? So, and usually when we talk about businesses, the owner of the business, the registered agent of the business, and the person who actually does work sometimes is the same person. Sometimes you have businesses that's registered to your home, and we call it alter ego when you use business pretty much as for yourself. So you go shopping and you use the same credit card that you use for yourself and for the business. People a lot of times do not draw a line between the two. So the question becomes, how much is the business worth? Okay, to you it could be priceless. Your spouse who wants to get divorced, she can or he can ask for a lot of money. But in reality, if you think about it, a lot of clients know a specific person and they would go to a specific person. So in reality, you can sell the business. And once you sell the business, you would still take all of your clients and you can start a new business. So it's very difficult to appraise the business, but it's very common. And I have some current cases right now where we have to appoint a business evaluator. A business evaluator, usually an accountant, sometimes a licensed attorney and a licensed CPA. That is very helpful. Uh, who can evaluate the business. And there are three different ways, at least what I know, probably other people know about other methods of evaluating the business, but there are three methods to evaluate the business: based on the gross income, based on the purely tax, and there's also some complex formula on how you calculate the business. And that's what's going to be the value of your business, and that's how you divide the business at the time of the divorce. Now, the important part to understand here is that the value of the business is different from what is called cash flow. Cash flow is what are you making daily, monthly, weekly, whatever, how you want to calculate it. It's your invoice to your client and what the client pays you. The value of the business involves a lot more than simply just a cash value. It also involves, how long you've been in the business. So the years of good standing in the business matters a lot. I also mentioned what matters a lot, of course, is the equipment. If the business has its own building, it's a real estate that can be sold, or this real estate can actually have a lot of debts and pay real estate tax and things like that, and many other factors. The other thing that I people ask me a lot when they about to start a divorce, or when they think that the other side will start a divorce soon. They ask me a question: what do I do to protect my business, my assets? The rule of thumb, rule of law, is usually nothing. Like once the divorce is filed, it's called everything has to be status quo. Status quo means that nothing can be touched, nothing can be moved, and you don't do that. And if you start moving things around, if you start hiding the money, if you all of a sudden start losing income, or accepting cash only and it's not on the books. It's called I'm sorry, not alienation, but I lost the word. Uh, I'll find it. It's when you hide the assets. This is when you will have to repay later for the what you owe in the business. But usually you cannot do things like that. And another thing that I wanted to mention is
Fedor, I'm just curious, in that scenario you just talked about, would that be a situation where someone owns a business and their spouse stays at home or has nothing to do with the business?
well, even if a spouse stays at home and has nothing to do with the business, it's still marital asset. If it's
Yeah,
marital,
that's what I was wondering, if that was what the scenario you just gave, where someone comes to your office and says, "How can I protect my business if I get it?" If because I think a divorce is coming. Is that typically, do you hear that question more when only one of the parties owns a business?
yes, I do. So I hear it from both sides. One side that usually who is actively involved in the business, he or she wants to protect the business assets, and they come up with. There are several methods to protect the business. A prenuptial agreement, postnuptial agreement could be something that you can entertain along the way. The person that stays home and not usually involved in. I remember the word dissipation of marital assets.
I
Sometimes
would not have been able to help you with that.
you know it and then you forget about it. Yeah, dissipation of marital assets. This is when, and I'll come back to answering the question that you asked. Dissipation of marital assets is when you start moving your assets around. So you have dissipation of marital assets is exactly what it is, and it's very common in marriages and business owners. They start dissipating an asset. There is an asset, right? So you have a table. I don't know. You have some kind of asset. You have equipment, and now it's gone, and there is no cash, and there is no trace. That's called dissipation of marital assets. Also, savings for the business account or whatever it is. So you had $100,000 in your business account, in your operating business account, and now it's gone. And you're trying to claim that you had to buy something, but you don't really have this what you wanted to buy. That's called dissipation of marital assets. You have to bring these assets back, and your spouse can claim 50% from that. Now, for those who stay at home and not actively involved in business, they usually come to us and say, "Listen, I have no idea what he is doing. I have no idea how he is moving. What is he doing? I've never been involved in this business. I'm raising his kids. I'm a mother of three. I need to find out." So that is what's called. That's what we do during discovery process, and that's where we send the subpoenas to business entities, bank accounts, and things like that to find out what's there. One more thing I wanted to mention today is that it's common, and we've done it several times, that when during the divorce process, we also file a petition, a complaint in Chancery. What's Chancery? Chancery is a separate jurisdiction in Illinois, in many other states, where there is a divorce. Divorce deals with what? Divorce jurisdiction is about kids, about marital property, about marital assets, maintenance, things like that. With the chancery, it's usually a fight between the business partners. And if the wife and the husband were business partners, as I spoke about it before, then one of the things to decide your differences is through the chancery. And the Chancery Court will divide the business, and it's only about business, and it's all only about fiduciary responsibilities by both of you for the specific business. It's very common, and it's very common when we have two lawsuits going at the same time. Another thing that I'd like to mention is that what spouses do in order to prevent their business assets, entities, they want to show at the time of the divorce that they don't make as much money as they used to. So for that reason, they, as I mentioned before, they take cash, do whatever. But also very common, they would transfer money to their close ones, to their parents, to their brothers and sisters, for whatever reason, and claim there was a loan that they had to repay or something else happened. They also do it via transferring money via crypto accounts, which very hard to trace. So that is also dissipation of marital assets. This is one of the ways how people try to protect their assets, even filing for bankruptcy and even having somebody from the family run the business in order not to, divide it 50-50 down the road later with the spouse. So that's what makes it more and more complicated. I understand why people do that, because it's your business. It's like your baby that you don't want to divide with anybody, and you know how to run it. You know how to deal with it. And now you're going through a divorce and your spouse wants 50% from the business. But remember, Illinois is a guideline state. So you can always trade it. So you can always claim, you can always give up more. Let's say you can give 100% on your 401k, but keep 100% of the business to yourself. Or you can give 100% on the house, but you can keep the business to yourself along with the income. Or you can pay her higher maintenance, but you can keep the income from the business from which you will be paying the maintenance and from which you'll be paying child support. So you can all adjust it all the time. It's not set in stone, and it will be always subject to litigation, which makes it kind of exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. There's always creative ways to do things. Don't try hiding stuff, because that's not good. All right. Well, that's it for today's episode of the Family Law Frontline. If you're a business owner facing divorce and want to protect what you've built, visit lawyer-il.com to connect with Fedor Kozlov and his team. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Leave us a review. We'd greatly appreciate it. Fedor, always great chatting with you. Thanks so much for all the insight.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.